Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're back to working on the Subaru rally car because we got to continue pushing to get this thing prepped for STPR because I've got about 7 days that I can actually get work done on this thing, and we got a long list of stuff to do. So as we can see right here, the task for today has something to do with lighting. So this is the old light bar that we used to have on here. Pretty ugly, looked terrible on the car, and it really wasn't very effective because this type of light is pretty much great at just throwing light everywhere and not necessarily where you need it. So with a rally car, you really need lights to go out very far so you can actually see what's coming up in the road. Now this is a very nice Diode Dynamics light bar that I bought. It's not very big, obviously, you can tell that compared to that. I think that's a 48-inch light bar by, I don't know, that's probably like 3 inches tall. And this is 18 inches by about an inch. So definitely way smaller. But this thing puts out a lot of light, and it does a really good job of actually putting it where you need it in a racing application. And over here, I've got some other stuff. Now this stuff I got for free. A company reached out to me when I was talking about making a new light bar in one of my past videos. And they offered to send me some of their stuff to try out. So I'm not going to do like a paid promotion or something. I'm going to give an honest review on how I actually like these things, because I'm not really a fan of like Chinese products and stuff, but these might be good, and I'll definitely give an honest opinion. And these are spotlights, so as you can see, they don't look like the housings on this one. So as you can see, these are literally just like, you can see the LED cob in there and pretty much just a small housing. And with this, you can actually see that it has some sort of like a projector type housing. So these are spotlights, and they supposedly work well. I looked up a lot of reviews on them, and they actually seem like they did fairly decent for the price of the product. And then I pretty much have the same thing, but in 7 inches over here. And they also sent me these LED headlights as well. Now putting LED headlights into halogen housing is not really the best idea because you're going to throw light everywhere, but we're going to give it a shot and see how it works. If we don't like it, it was free. We'll give an honest review and see with a comparison video. Not in this one, we're not going to like plug this video, just kind of showing what we're going to be using to make this light bar and why we have some of like the cheaper Amazon products. But these were super expensive. Honestly, I bought this on sale on July 4th, I think. I think it was 140 bucks normally or something, and I got like 40 bucks off for the holiday. So definitely expensive, but their lights are really good. A lot of people will run like 2 or 3 or 4 of these on their stage car, so I don't know how well one will do, but we're gonna see. We're gonna do a comparison video on just this one compared to that old one, see what we get, and then just these in combined, so these two and then these two combined compared to that one and compared to that one, and then we'll do both these groups together combined compared to that as well. So it should be a pretty good video, so stay tuned for that. Now, as far as construction on the actual light bar itself, we got this 3/4 inch tube and the 1 inch tube. And we're going to be using these to try to make some removable system. The actual light bar is going to be made out of the 1 inch stuff because it'll slide over this 3/4 inch. We'll go more into that in a minute though, once I actually get to it. But essentially the design is it's going to come around here and follow where the bumper beam already is. And I just don't want to block any more of the radiator or the oil cooler to try to get as much air in there as possible. So I don't want to like come above or below and impede any more air coming in. And it's probably going to be like the Diode Dynamics light is going to be on top, and it's going to be adjustable. And the 2 smaller Auxbeam lights going like here and here on the bottom. And then the 3-inch ones right here and then like here. Kind of hard to imagine right now, but picture a bumper cover here too, and it kind of all lines up with the fog lights that are already in the bumper. And the mounting system that I kind of came up with briefly, this is just in theory, so we'll see how well it works. I'm going to weld the beam with the 3/4 inch from like here to here, weld it to there level, and then once I do that, I'm going to make the actual light bar, and I'm going to come off with like 2 mounting pieces with the 3/4 inch stuff, and then the light bar is just going to like slide over that, have pins that lock into place. So in theory, it should be really easy to remove and only take a couple minutes, so that way we don't have to run with it on all the time like we did with the old one. So we're going to try to get started really quick. So first thing that I'm going to do, measure exactly how big that piece needs to be that's going to be mounting it. Get that distance, and then we'll cut that out real quick, clean up that tube, and then we'll tack it into place on the bumper beam, and then we'll start working on the design for the actual light bar. So I'm going to have to break out the tube bender, which is sitting right there in a pile. Got to find the bolts to mount it somewhere over there. Haven't had to use that thing in a long time, so it's going to be interesting looking for everything.
The thing is, Bob, it's not lazy. It's that I just don't care.
Finally got the tubing bender set up. It took me a while to remember how it went because it's been so long since I've done it. It also took me forever to find my dies. I threw them in a Rubbermaid, that one actually, and I literally searched everywhere. This was kind of organized before. Now there's crap everywhere, but whatever. So now we got to figure out exactly how long we need to make this tube and then cut it, which I'm going to leave a little bit of wiggle room. That way I have some to play with once I'm done. But it should be 4 total bends, so 1 down here, pretty much not going to be like a full 90, so I need to measure, but it's going to be at least like 17 inches from here to here, straight, and then the bends are going to start, and then we'll just kind of play with it and see what kind of an angle I like, and then once we get the angle that I like, and then a full 90 to actually go to where it's going to meet up to that other tube. It should make more sense once I actually start making it, so we're going to get started and start measuring it all out. Alright, so for the measurements for the light bar, we're going to do 20 inches on the top, so center point's going to be at 10. That's what I'm going to be working off of, where I start my actual bends, which I don't have a cheater for the 1 inch, but I can just make a mark on where 20 is, so 10 inches from the center point of both. That's going to be where the start of my bend is, which I don't know if you guys have seen any of my other videos. We're actually going to like bending tubes, but it would make more sense if you did. But so 20 inches up top, and then we're going to leave, I factored in about 14 inches from there down to where the next bend is going to start of material, and then from there another 6 until it ends. So that's leaving like 4 or so inches extra, and that way we'll have some room to play. And you don't want to make it too short, because you can run into some issues with the bender where it'll actually like pop off the die if it's not long enough. So you kind of have to leave that excess and then just trim it later. So total length is going to be 60 inches. So we're going to start in the center of that, 30, and then work our way out. So next step, cut it. This is going to be out of the 1 inch tubing as well. So once we cut it, we'll make all of our marks and then start bending it all up. Got all the bends in, and yeah, it's all right. Didn't turn out as good as I wanted it to. I didn't measure enough. Really kind of need to take your time and like calculate everything and figure out where like the outside of the bend is going to end up to. It also helps to have a cheater for whatever size tubing that you're bending. I don't have a 1 inch cheater, so I kind of just rushed it, but it came out fine. I left more tolerances in there. So we need to cut down these ends that are too long. I'm going to leave enough, probably like 4.5 inches on it right now, so I'll have to do probably one more trimming of it once we figure out the total length that we want it sticking out. I'll probably throw the bumper on there too to like try to figure out exactly where I want this thing to sit. So we'll trim those down really quick. Once we do that, we'll cut 2 like 4-inch long pieces of that 3/4 inch tubing, and that's what's going to sleeve into this and actually hold it. Once we do that, we'll have to notch it because that's going to be welded to the other 3/4 inch tube, so I'll have to get a 1 inch or a 3/4 inch hole saw for that, which I have some. I should have a 3/4 inch in here, and then once we notch that, we can just weld into that piece, and yeah, slowly make some progress on this. So let's start cutting. so we made these little pieces. I drilled the holes for it, and you can kind of see what the plan is. So this is going to be welded to the car. So these are notched to this tube. This is going to be welded to the car where we measured earlier in the beginning of the video. And then these pins are literally just going through these slotted holes, and it's going to hold it in place. Now I'm not sure how well these pins work. I didn't really measure them when I bought them online, and it was just a variety pack. I thought they came in smaller sizes than that, and they're all gigantic. So yeah, these are really long, and they're definitely gonna like rattle like crazy if I leave them that short. So I don't know if I'm just gonna I could probably cut them down and squeeze them in so that they don't move as much, or like put washers or something in there so they space them out. But if they don't hold them well enough, like if it allows it to move a little bit, I'm probably just gonna weld a nut on one side and then just run a bolt through it really quick, and it should be really easy to just like thread the bolt in, tighten it up with the impact, or not even the impact, just super quick tighten it up, and then probably just one would be enough if I do end up going with a bolt. So next step in this process, I'm going to make sure that this piece fits again exactly where I actually want it to go, so as low as I want it to go, since I want it pretty low. Then once I do that, I'm going to measure equal distances on both sides, and then we'll just tack it into place. So 4 good tacks on like each corner, 1, 2, and like 3 and 4, whatever, on like 90 degrees. That way it doesn't warp. And once we do that, just start welding fully around it. And I'm going to go slow, try to limit any sort of warpage, but it's going to stay in here, so that should really help limit any warpage. But if it does warp at all, it's going to make it very difficult to remove this piece at all. So hopefully it doesn't warp at all, but we'll see. So this should eliminate it, and it should allow this piece to just come in and out once these pins are removed. So the camera died and I never grabbed it, and I did a bunch of work to it. So right now I think it's good, and I can start trying to get this piece welded into the car. So pins come out. This side, the pin's a little tighter. There we go. And then this piece comes out. Ugh. Gotta pull evenly with both hands and it'll come right out. And then, so 2 pins both sides, locking it in place. And it should just drop in just like that. I welded these pieces on there as like backstops so that it'll line up perfectly. When you slide it in, it doesn't slide in too far, and it'll line up with the holes every time, so you don't have to like fiddle with it. So this should be super easy to get in. So next step, like I was saying, we're going to clean up the bumper beam in the areas that it's going to be welded to. Well, I just tacked it into place, and I put these pins in backwards, so I'm gonna have to cut them out. That's as far as they can go. This one's not, like, the holes aren't symmetrical at all on the same size. So yeah, this one can almost come out.
Guess we're
and she's just sitting here and laughing at me. I've still got a few more. Whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna take an angle grind of this, pull this off, grab the bumper, trim the bumper in those spots that I'll have to get this on. All right, just finish up welding that, so that's welded up fully in there. You can't really see the welds. Well, not fully, I couldn't get underneath it, but it's like 75%. It's not a roll cage bar, so it's not important, but it's pretty strong. You just saw me stand on it, so it can hold plenty of weight. All right, I'm like in between filming 2 videos right now, doing this construction video, doing the review video on them, so we just opened them all up. We're ready to actually start figuring out how we're gonna mount them to this thing. Hopefully it's super simple and it doesn't get too involved, because I want to go to bed, but I gotta get at least the mounting done tonight because I'm really running out of time, and I'm gonna go drifting tomorrow, which I really shouldn't, but I'm going to because I want to have a little bit of fun. Let's start by mounting the Diode Dynamic light. Should be pretty easy. I think I'm just gonna like notch this to fit around the tube, so we'll hit it with like a hole saw or something in there, and once we do that, should be pretty easy. I'll just like zip it on there with some MIG. Make sure and clean this up. This is probably stainless too, so the welds are probably going to come out kind of garbage because I'm doing stainless to mild. But whatever, it's a light bar. It'll have enough penetration to hold it well. It just won't look the best. But hey, if you're not a good welder, you're a good grinder, right? So I'm a pretty good grinder by now. Yeah, let's get started on this. All the mounts are welded on there right now. They're not perfect. Like that one is actually straight with the tube. That one's a little cockeyed. But I think that's the only one that's weird. Everything else kind of came out good. I'm going to clean it up more tomorrow or whenever I get a chance. Well, it's been 2 days since the last clip, but I went and got hardware, so we got everything that we need to finish mounting the lights, or start mounting the lights, I guess. And because we went drifting yesterday instead of working on the car, we got a lot of late nights coming up to try to get this thing completely done, packed up, ready to go before I have to leave for work. So next step is welding exactly where these adjusters are going to go. So I showed them earlier, they got little rubber stops and they're going to just screw out and put pressure against the bumper, and then they won't destroy the paint. Not that it matters, because half the paint's flaking off on the bumper anyway, so it really doesn't make a difference. But it's better than like a bolt, like the head of a bolt against it. So we'll do that next. So we'll mark the 2 holes for the weld nuts to go into, drill those holes out, and then we'll start prepping this thing for paint. Probably just gonna paint it flat black. I don't know how well it's gonna do. I might actually use some Port 15 stuff that I've got. I got like that Port 15 gloss black stuff, because I know that will actually like stand up a lot better than just spray paint on this thing. I don't know how fast that dries though. I don't know, I'll look into it, and my can might not even be good of it too, because it has been about 2 years since I've used it and it's open, so we'll see. Okay, so I prepped the light bar and I threw a couple coats of paint on there, and while I'm waiting in between, we're gonna knock out the wiring. So I already went through and kind of had to re-familiarize myself with exactly how I wired this switch thing here. So this is all of my accessory stuff with going to my switch panel right there. Currently I'm only using 3 of the switches as well as 2 relays. So I have 2 open relays and a couple open switches right there. Now the way it works is one of the switches, the one that I'm going to be using, so this one's the one already wired for the lights, so this is going to be the second one for the auxiliary lighting. They are both getting 12 volt input when the ignition is on, so it's only going to be able to energize when it's on, so I can't forget about it and leave it on and drain my battery. So when you flip it, it'll energize the relay and it'll send the massive hot wire down to the light bar out there, so I don't have to worry about running a lot of power through the switch or the ground or whatever. So all I need to do is run the hot into here, and it's fused in here on this fuse block, and then I don't have to worry about any issues like that. And then I just need to pick up a ground out there where the engine bay is, so it's just really short ground, and then a hot wire about 4 feet into here to meet up with the relay, and then that switch is what's going to energize all of it. So I finally have it ran to here. This is the original plug. This will go to the 3 Auxbeam lights that I've got. And then this is just the power and ground for the Diode Dynamics. I'm gonna wait before I cut this so that I can actually size it appropriately and see like where I need to run it. Since they actually included a really nice plug for it, so we'll be wiring this in, or just literally just soldering it in there. And then once we do that, this will be good. I can't really come up with all the wiring stuff for getting them together on the light bar because I need to wait till I mount them, and then once I mount them, I'll figure out exactly where I'm going to route the wires so they look clean, and then combine all 4 of the aux lights together so they can be on the same switch, and then run that one plug for the Diode Dynamics one, which that already has a pigtail, so that's literally just going to be, I need to connect this to that. I'm probably not even going to shorten it. I can just kind of like route it along the back of the light bar, and it should be out of the way and be tucked out so where you can't see it. So it should be super simple. After this, I just got to wait for that paint to cure a little bit more before I start messing with it. That's the last thing I want to do is like get the paint all over after I just spent a long time prepping it and a good 4 hours in between coats. Right now I just threw some clear on it to try to get a little bit harder of a protection on the outside because it was kind of a flat color that I used. So we're gonna hit it with one more coat of clear and let it sit, and then we'll start mounting up the lights later on once that actually cures a little bit more. So it's been about 2 hours since I put the last coat on there, and it's kind of cured. I got to be a little careful with it because it's still kind of fragile, and it's gonna be really easy to mess with the paint, but it doesn't look too bad. I painted it yellow. Kind of matches the Hellas. It's a little different. It's almost like a greenish yellow because it's so like fluorescent. I also hit it with some clear to try to like harden up the paint a little bit because it was, I don't know, that paint was kind of crappy, but it is spray paint. Whatever, it's probably not going to be the best, but once we throw the lights on, it should look a little bit more like a light bar unless it's just like a random bull bar, but I think it looks pretty good on there. So we're going to start mounting all the lights to it. That way we can make the harness for each individual light, combine them all, and then we'll finally be done with this project. They're all mounted now. I am going to have to play with exactly where I want them all pointed once I get them wired up. It is almost dark out, so I might try to do it tonight. I don't know. Depends on how much longer this takes to wire it up, make it look clean. So next step, we're going to pull it off, and then we'll splice all 4 of those Auxbeam lights together, and then pretty much just splice in the other end for this Diode Dynamics light. Once we do that, then they're all good. We can actually plug them in, see what they look like, and start adjusting them. And the wiring is finally done. So I went to turn them on earlier and I realized that I forgot a fuse and I didn't even hook up the power wire to the fuse block. So yeah, that's why that didn't work. Had me confused for a minute, but it's kind of hard to tell how bright they are because of, I'm obviously inside, but you can definitely tell that they're very focused because they are supposed to be spotlights. So you can see like that beam only goes from like right there to like over there. So we might need some flood, which kind of a good thing because they did send me these things. These headlights should suffice as like a flood for up close. So I think I'm going to swap those in right now. Should only take a minute because they're just replacement bulbs. And then once I do that, I think I might move the truck and go see what they look like right now. Finally got the headlights changed. That one took me forever because I don't know why I forgot how they go, and that one took 15 seconds once I figured out how easy it was, and I literally just changed them too. So I'm gonna move the truck really quick. We're gonna go see exactly how well these lights do down some really dark roads. All right, so we're in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty dang dark out here. You can't really see anything, so go no lights. So just headlights, not terrible. And then brights, a little better. These headlights are so much better than my other ones, not gonna lie. So I drove out here to do the comparison video not that long ago, and I could not see anything with just my headlights because I didn't have anything else out here. So now those are the Auxbeam lights, so you can see the beam's going like really high up, so I'm gonna adjust it right after this. But that's Auxbeam, and then that's with Diode Dynamics, obviously a lot brighter. And it's not really doing it justice how much it's actually lighting it up. And I'd actually be curious to see like how far it's lighting it up too. And then just Diode Dynamics, just Auxbeam, or just headlights actually. So I'm gonna play with the aux beams real quick, kind of adjust them a little bit and see if we can't get them pointing in a little better direction. All right, so I brought it down, you can actually kind of see now. So I had it backwards. The Diode Dynamics was the one pointed straight up, and the Auxbeam was the one that was actually level and aligned decently. So the Auxbeams actually work surprisingly well. So this is just Diode Dynamics. It's clearly really good now, which that's only about 75 feet in front of us. It's not very far. That like backhoe or whatever it is. And then this is with both, and then this is just the Auxbeam. So clearly, as you can see, it's more of a flood, but it's still throwing the light out there pretty far, but this is definitely way more pinpointed. Well, it works really well, and it looks pretty cool. At least in my opinion, I think it looks pretty cool. We'll see how well these Auxbeams hold up, and if I need to eventually replace them, who knows. But I think if I do replace them, it's going to be with some 6-inch Diode Dynamics lights. And I'll just go with like 2 floods, and then maybe 2 spots, or maybe like 2 floods sideways, because those won't really matter how they're going. That would just be like daylight driving in front of this car, so I think that would be really good. I can't imagine what 4 of those 18-inch ones do. It's got to be great when you're going down the road. Anyway, I really need to end this video. I imagine that it is terribly long right now, and I'm going to have a lot to edit because I filled up a couple SD cards, and I think even more than that, because they're kind of going back and forth over the last like 2-3 days that I've been working on this. And my wife went to bed a while ago. I'm sure my neighbors really appreciate that I drove my truck late at night. It sounds like a school bus, and then this thing that's pretty much straight piped too, which trying to coast and drive super slow, but I was a little too anxious to try to get to see what these lights look like. So it's whatever. If they complain, then they complain. But oh, I did get a haircut. I don't know if you even noticed, but I had a lot of hair before in the video, and then I went and got one earlier today. So that's why I have no hair again. And I'll end the video since I really need to, and I said it 3 times. So you guys have a good one. I'll see you with whatever video I got coming out next.